Hello, welcome. My name is Josh LaBelle. I'm proud to be here today. I am a member of the SAJD board, which is the part of JFS that provides services to people with disabilities. I'm here with JFS's CEO and my dear friend, Will Berkovitz. We're going to be having a chat looking back at the past and looking into the future. Welcome, Will.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you for being here too.
And so let's just dig right in. Will, we're going to be looking back a little bit at this past monumental year. In some ways, this luncheon is like a placekeeper in my world. You know, something I come to every year, look forward to, and here we are doing it in a very different way. And if I think back myself this past year, I realize about a year ago, you and I were in touch on a really regular basis, nearly daily. I think we were helping each other to prepare for this pandemic and all that might come. My memories are a little foggy. I simply remember that I benefited from your graceful perspective. But I'm wondering, what are your memories of about a year ago?
Yeah, you know, I remember those conversations because you were kind of giving me insights in terms of what you saw coming and how to really read such an unknown set of terrain. It was just so complicated on so many fronts because we didn't know how long it was going to last. We didn't know what it meant to close down the state. We didn't know what it meant to close down our organization in the way we've known it for 129 years and then shifting to a completely different model of service where everything is so relational and all of a sudden we're shifting to this virtual world. It was, it feels like a universe ago.
It sure does. I'm also cognizant that both of us look at this past year and recognize several crises, a pandemic and the social justice crisis. And I've always appreciated that you've looked at things as one in whole. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about why you look at it that way and how we share that.
Yeah, you know, look, I think that I think that the pandemic has really brought it into stark relief, is there is no difference. We are all, at the end, human trying to make it through. And the way that we've navigate this is we tend to try to divide people into these people and those people. But when you talk about vulnerable, we were all vulnerable. We are all vulnerable. When the pandemic hit, we were all feeling the same fear. And the thing that I think has happened over the course of the year is the anxiety, the fear, the sense of isolation, the loneliness. I mean, that has no economic boundaries. And then when you add onto it, the political discourse and the way that's gone, the civil unrest that we've seen, it has been, it's given us an opportunity, I think, to really look back and say, hey, so what if this world is broken, and what are we going to do as a collective to try to fix it? And I think when we focus in that area, I think we're just much better off. And I think for JFS, at the end of the day, it's the human standing in front of us that we're trying to take care of.
Well, you're naturally going into my next area, which is to talk a little bit about the impact this has had and continues to have on the people that JFS serves.
Yeah. So the thing that I would say that has really floored me, I mean, in an extraordinary way, is actually not just the way in which the trauma has sort of just cascaded across everybody. But I would say it's the resilience of our clients and of the staff at JFS. I have to tell you, to see people have to change their entire way of being and to rise above all that anxiety it's a remarkable testament to the human spirit and what's possible. Now, the thing that would be amazing is if we could keep that going as we move forward, that sense of our resilience and and that we can actually endure really hard things and come out stronger. That to me has been remarkable. And I'd say that the same thing for the staff. I mean, the staff has been extraordinary because the thing that has really left a pretty profound mark on me is the utter dedication the team has to the people that we exist to take care of and who turn to us. And the way that they've been willing to, in some instances, put their own safety and health at risk in order to make sure that people have the support they need. I mean, you can't see that in a blog post or in me telling a story. It's the kind of thing that you witness in the debates about how are we going to go see folks like the folks from supportive living, or how are we going to continue to get food to people, or how are we going to take care of seniors who don't speak the language, or newly arrived refugees. All of that has been really remarkable.
So, as a social service agency, I mean, you've clearly just painted a picture that this is a difficult environment. And I imagine the environment is one that there's growing needs from our clients, from the people that we serve, without necessarily a congruent growing of resources to get that done. And I'm curious, like, how are you guys coping? How are you continuing? How are you making this happen?
Now, the thing that's been remarkable to me is the community stepped up in a way that was unbelievable. Like, to me, as dedicated as the staff have been, the community didn't let us down. The way in which people are stepping up and the way in which even people who are struggling are stepping up has been remarkable. This past year, if you go back to 2019, we would usually give out across the whole organization around $400,000 or so in financial assistance to support people for housing or whatnot. This year, we are on track to give out over $1.2 million. Wow. So just to give you a sense of the scale of the need that's out there.
Huge shift.
Yeah, and so if you think about it, isn't something like $750, $800 million in back rent is going to be due in King County alone when the pandemic eviction moratorium ends. So that just gives you a sense of the scale of what we're navigating. I mean, I felt like the vast majority of the past year, it felt like whitewater rafting in a fog, because we didn't know what was in front of us. We didn't know how we were going to have to respond. And then, and the community would sort of say, different folks would say, hey, we have to pay attention to this rock over here, or hey, don't forget about this thing over there. And it was really this collective effort, I think, that has gotten us this far. And we've navigated it pretty well, I think, as a community.
Do I remember correctly that JFS was literally founded largely on Jewish people helping other refugees get resettled in this area?
Look, so one of the things I say is, Jewish history and values guide our work. That's in our approach, part of our mission, Jewish history and values. So the values are universal. It doesn't matter what religion, what you do or don't believe, if you're an atheist, if you're religious, it doesn't matter. Those are universal values, but what makes them particular is the history of the Jewish experience. This is the story that we have lived through over the centuries as Jews. And so that is a very particular story. And within that story is the refugee experience. 129 years ago, when JFS was founded by a couple women who was called the Ladies Jewish Benevolence Society, I think is what it was called back then. That was basically, there are these people arriving on our shores and we need to figure out how to take care of them. And through the Holocaust, it was helping people realign with reunite with their families, or, and struggling with tremendous trauma. And, if you go further, it was the Russian refugees that were coming. And those were all Jewish refugees. Well, today it's not Jewish refugees that are in need. It's non-Jewish refugees. But because we are, as I said, a refugee people, we actually understand that experience. And in my mind, we have a moral obligation to support them. We know what happens when you sit on the sidelines. More than any other people, we know what it means. And I think the thing that I can't do is sit on the sidelines. I think for me, and I've really thought deeply about this a lot, is the question I keep asking is, what are my kids gonna say when they look back on what did your parents do during this time, right? And the thing I want them to know, the legacy I hope that we leave for them, and I hope as a community we leave for them, is that we showed up and we made hard choices and we took risks because we believed we had no other choice but to take those risks. And I think that until we get that way more broadly, societally, I think we get stuck. And I think my aspiration, and I think about this a lot in terms of JFS, I am hoping that JFS and the folks that work at JFS and the board that volunteers at JFS and every volunteer that shows up at JFS, that the thing that we are doing is shining a light in terms of what is possible for a society to take care of each other. Like that would be the thing that I would hope we do, and do it with integrity, and do it with kindness and dignity toward the people that are turning to us, and humility, and with an understanding that we screw up and we make mistakes, but that's also part of humanity, is making mistakes and then figuring out what you did wrong and try to do better next time. I mean, like that to me is the dream or the vision.
Well, so Will, even just listening to you now reminds me of this feeling I would have. I would frequently look forward to those emails that you send out. I thought your writing has been remarkable during these times.
Thank you.
It's left me with a feeling that you're one of these leaders that approaches your leadership as a journey. And I'm wondering, as you look back, if you've found, or even just looking at today, like, do you find yourself in any new or renewed places, given all that you and the staff and the clients have gone through?
Yeah, I've discovered that my superpower and the thing that I have understood in a whole new level is the profound depth of my anxieties.
Yes,
it just seems like every day there's one other new thing that is, like, oh my God, we always say Dayenu, it would be enough. It would be enough if we had a pandemic. It would be enough if there were civil unrest. It would be enough if there was political unrest. It would be enough if there was an economic downturn. It's like, it just feels like, one long journey through the wilderness. And I think that the thing that's amazing about that idea of wilderness is we're not done. This is still an unfolding journey. We're still in the wilderness, so I wouldn't by any stretch want anyone to think like, oh, and now we're done and everything is great. Like, we are in chapter 1 in some ways. And I think that the thing that I've been just remarkably blown away by is the dedication of the staff. I think the way the board of directors has responded to this and really said, you got to do more, figure out how to do more. Like, what can we do together? And giving the best thinking you could possibly hope for, you included, frankly, on the SAJD Foundation board is another example of that. And I think the community, people asking, what can we do? What can I do to help? That's been really quite remarkable. A lot of those things you were asking about, the letters that I've sent out to the community, in a lot of ways, those are really my way of processing the stress. It's my way of writing letters to my kids so they'll know what the heck I was thinking and what I was hoping for, and trying to get people to look up.
So Will, looking into the future, certainly feels to me like this is an environment in which the needs, the services of JFS are going to remain high, if not getting higher. What do you need us, the community, people who volunteer here, who donate here, to understand about the future?
Yeah, what is incredibly clear is the needs skyrocketed this past year. Again, you heard me talk about just the financial needs in the community have just gone up, from from $400,000 to $1.2 million. That's just one area of our work. That's not everything. That's just like one area in terms of financial support. I think that every area in our community is struggling in profound ways right now. And we need to hire staff to take care of those folks. We need to be able to follow up with them. We've had to change, the entire structure of how we do things to move online. I don't think that once things begin to open, that it's going to be back to the way it was. I mean, just to keep in mind, we're still serving people that were affected from the 2008 downturn, right? So there are still clients that come into JFS because they lost their jobs and they were never able to get back on their feet. And this is that at a staggeringly high level, what's coming. And I think that it is going to require all of us to work a lot harder and to dig deeper. And I think that the only way out of this is to go through it, not by cutting corners, but by doing the work. And I think the degree of client need is beyond comprehension.
Thank you very much, Will, for a wonderful conversation today. And thank all of you for tuning in and for supporting JFS. Will, a few parting words.
Josh, thanks again for being willing to step in and do this. I really, really appreciate it. You're awesome. And I want to thank you all for tuning in today. It means a tremendous amount to us that you all care to show up and to take time and to step up and support JFS. I want to thank Gary and Wendy Kaplan for their amazing hosting this 2 years in a row, it seems like. And I want to thank all of the staff at JFS for everything you do day in, day out, and all the people whose lives are better because of you. Thank you.